Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Change your game with the all-new Pro Rock Hockey Stick, a Canadian company providing a top-of-the-line twig at an affordable price. Pro Rock sticks are extremely lightweight, balanced, and provide the perfect kick point. Get your fully customized stick today at ProRock.com. Play like a Pro Rock.
What is happening today, everybody? Welcome to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner on 12 Ounce Sports. Today's the 151st show, live on 12 Ounce Sports, and I am your host, Glenn Kaplan, from a sunny Baltimore, Maryland, home of the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Ravens. We are locked and loaded with NBA All-Star Game topics and NHL Hockey Day in America topics for today, and I hope you all enjoyed your wonderful weekend and are ready for the week to begin. Now, before I get into today's show, I'm going to give you a couple announcements. Number one, this will be the last day for this in regards to not seeing my actual face on the screen. Because I've been doing this show from the basement of my house. Don't have a camera connected to this thing through the OBS because it doesn't have a camera for whatever reason. But I was able to connect it through my laptop. So on Thursday, I'll be starting to do my shows from my laptop, and you'll be able to see my face. I said in the 12 Ounce Sports group chat last night, and I was telling JB Beck and Cody Jensen, the bosses, about it, so they're excited about that. Number two, Thursday's show may not actually be in my basement or in my living room or in my bedroom. I might actually be doing my show outside on Thursday because the temperatures are supposed to be like in the 60s or 70s, so I kind of want to bring you an outside feel to it. If it's going to be a nice day, nice spring days, I'm not going to want to be in here. Now that I have my laptop not connected to a computer basement in my home, no, I'm going to want to bring you the outside weather. If hopefully the internet's stable, I'm going to test it out this week a couple of times. And if I can't do it from outside, then I'll have to do it inside. So I'm looking forward to some new obstacles with myself on this show here. So now let me get started with today's show. But before I do, it's Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner, live mybookie.ag, 12 Ounce Sports Crunch, your Thursday, 12ouncesportsradio.com/Amazon promo 12 Ounce Sports. Y'all watched that All-Star game last night, or should I say no defense affair? What else is new come the NBA All-Star game? There's no such thing as playing defense. No! It's optional. Get rid of the D, and it spells offense. But what do I also take away from this game? Team LeBron versus Team Durant. Durant didn't play due to injury. LeBron only played 12, 13 minutes. I mean, yeah, I guess it's whatever when it comes to, I guess, him not wanting to play a lot. But it'll be okay. I guess he got the rest, only played 12 minutes, and didn't win people much money last night. But I guess it is what it is, right? And the winner of the All-Star Game MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Milwaukee Bucks wins the Kobe Bryant, being whatever, All-Star Game MVP award. So this was the second year it was named after him after he was tragically killed in that plane crash last year. So Kawhi Leonard won it in the Los Angeles Clippers last year. Now Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks wins it this year. He went a perfect 16 of 16 from the field. Had 3 threes and everything else was a bunch of dunks. That's what it all was. And he probably won a lot of people some money somewhere, somehow last night. The RP of the Milwaukee Bucks. And he's hoping to finally lead them to not a national title. I'm in the college basketball mode. I'm going to be more into that probably on Thursday and next Monday. But the truth be told is, Giannis now needs to will and lead his team to a finals. But how will that happen in the second half of the season? I'll get to that much later on in the show about the preview of the second half and what the standings are and what they look like. So he did have 35 points, 100% shooting from the field, 16 to 16, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal. The thing about Giannis is that he just played loose and free like all the other All-Stars. Well, then next but not least, the score was what? 170, 150? I mean, it's close to the first quarter. You switch scores every quarter. And very interesting. So then, Damian Lillard, the Portland Trail Blazers, they call him Dame Time. 32 points, 55% shooting from the field, 2 rebounds and 1 assist. You knew he when it was 167 to 150 that Dame Lillard was pulling up from the parking lot. And the most scariest thing, and I saw it on Twitter yesterday, when it was 167 to 150, before Damian Lillard even put up the shot, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors was waving to the crowd, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Something to that regard. In reference to, he knew Dame was going to hit the shot and the game was going to be over. You knew it was going to go, and I'm like, and then he does the wristwatch. What time is it? It's Dame time. Should have been an all-star game starter to begin with. But the 3 best players in that game were all on Team LeBron. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, Portland Trail Blazers. Oh, and then lastly but not least, Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, who had 28 points, 52.6% shooting from the field, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. And Steph was also another guy unconscious from 3-land. Unbelievable. Stephen Curry, one of the greatest shooters in the game of basketball. Just simply is. You saw Steve Kerr's tweets like, bang! The sound of Mike Breen. He does that. It's great to listen and call to and all that stuff. So then, how about Team Durant? Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards led them in scoring with 26 points, 62.5% shooting from the field, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal. How about Kyrie Irving? He was good for early on. It's just that they fell way too behind in this basketball game. 24 points, 66.7% shooting from the field, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals. I did not realize that Irving had 12 assists in the All-Star game, but then Giannis told James Harden, Brooklyn Nets, hey, you be the point guard, and I'll be the shooter. What did Kyrie Irving actually do in the All-Star game? Oh, he actually passed the basketball. And I have no idea how that actually happened. Well, I guess I do, because everything changes in the All-Star game compared to actual regular season play. How about Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics? 21 points, 56.3% shooting from the field, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 steals. So that was the All-Star game in itself. Now what about the skills competitions? 3-point shootout, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors. What a surprise. It's nothing new with him. One of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Posted on his Instagram afterwards that this was for Klay Thompson and everybody else back to the Bay. And he also mentioned that where that 3-point title trophy, I guess, belongs. I guess it matters to these players. And then how about the dunk contest? It was probably the worst dunk contest that I've probably ever seen in my lifetime. Hopefully it's not that bad next year. Anfernee Simons of the Portland Trail Blazers won it. Although Obi Toppin of the New York Knicks was probably more creative. And Cassius Stanley of the Indiana Pacers probably got robbed by the judges on his first dunk. But the best dunk of the day actually belonged to Toppin in the first round. But I didn't realize that Simons and Toppin were going to attempt one dunk in the final round. Well, I guess it was a halftime show. I guess as they were trying to say, it was better than nothing. Hopefully next year when things get back to normal, it's going to be better than it actually was. And Michael Corvallis, I would like to call you out. The truth of the matter is, cry me a river about the Cassius Stanley dunk. Because simply, I don't want to hear your nonsense about the whole props things. Because every single dunk guy uses a prop every single year. So don't give me this nonsense that Cassius Stanley was robbed. Because he didn't use a prop like an Alfred Simmons or an Obi Toppin did. That's what the judges look for. You know, it's called, creativity. That awards you points right there. It's like free extra credit points. That's what the judges look for. Get what I'm saying, man? I'm just telling you. So I don't think the dunk contest was relatively good, but we'll see what happens moving forward. And then the skills competition. Domantas Sabonis of the Indiana Pacers beat out Nikola Vukovic in the final round. What I find interesting is that Chris Paul of the Phoenix Suns and Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks went down in that competition. And then Jalen Brunson tweeted at Doncic saying, "What in the high seas happened?" And Doncic is like, "The pressure got to me." And then the fan responded, "Doncic doesn't respond well in pressure moment situations with Google eyes." And I'm curious to see, what, as I said, what's going to happen in the second half of the regular season. Robert Covington of the Portland Trailblazers also participating. There's also one other participant as well. All right, I'm moving on from this segment from the NBA All-Star Weekend. I'll get into the NBA much more later on in this show. Let me get now into Hockey Day in America here. So, it was yesterday. On one Sunday during the second half of the NHL regular season, it's always Hockey Day in America. The NHL and the game of hockey is growing inside the United States of America, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward with the game itself. Sunday was stacked with NHL games, and I will touch on a bunch of game recaps throughout the day. It is also one of the best days of the year on the NHL calendar. Let me start off with this one. I know a lot of their fans are skeptical of the success of the New York Islanders down on the island because they faced the Buffalo Sabres so many times, and they've yet to face the toughness of their schedule with the Philadelphia Flyers Washington Capitals. But let me tell you something about this New York Islanders team and why you shouldn't be so concerned. Number one, you're coached by Barry Trotz, one of the best who's ever done it in the business, third most active coaches with wins. Number two, when you have good goaltending, it will always go with you no matter where you are. As they say, defense travels, good goaltending always goes. Semyon Varlamov in net, and now you get an Ilya Sorokin some games, and he's getting to play better despite his horrific start. Number three, their young players are starting to get going. Oliver Wahlstrom, for example, when we have Matthew Barzal doing his thing, you have Anders Lee in front of the net, you're going to be fine as long as they stick to their game plan. And I don't know if they're going to exactly be exposed when they have to face the tough teams. As I saw from the New York Islanders yesterday, in their 5-2 win against the Buffalo Sabres, it didn't even look like they were trying. Because I guarantee you, if that were playing Washington, Pittsburgh, or Philly, they would have been skating much harder than they actually were. Let me just say that. Might have scored the same amount of goals per se, but they would have definitely skated much harder than they actually did. Felt like they were just practicing out there, and I guess there's nothing wrong with practice. You know, you get to work on a couple of things. It's like playing the Buffalo Sabres. You get to practice a couple of things for the big guys. So it's like kind of scrimmages. You know you're going to get the 2 points. It's just a matter of what the final score on the board's going to be. So as we speak this one, the New York Islanders are in first place in the East Division at the moment. And they're going to have one of the tougher schedules down the stretch. But that doesn't mean they're going to miss the playoffs because I have them as one of my 4 teams from the East Division to make it. And as long as they don't get away from anything, and as long as they take care of the bottom feeders, and win more than a little bit of half of them against the top tier teams, they'll be in the playoffs. No reason why to fret New York Islanders fans this morning. And I'm not trying to make it a joking matter either. Because that team wouldn't be surprised if they were in the Stanley Cup Finals come June or July. And just remember what it took them to get eliminated last year. A double doink goal by Anthony Cirelli in overtime, and Semyon Varlamov had no idea where the puck was. Just very similar to the NBA playoffs a couple years ago, when Kawhi Leonard double doinked the Philadelphia 76ers out of the playoffs, and the Toronto Raptors won it all, just like what Tampa Bay did, the Lightning did last year. Then they beat the Dallas Stars, just like Toronto Raptors beat the Golden State Warriors. That was both in 6 games. So what actually happened in this 5-2 win for the New York Islanders over the Buffalo Sabres? No goals in the first period. Second period goals, New York Islanders. Islanders lead 5-13 mark, assisted by Jordan Eberle and Noah Dobson. One of their better young defensemen. New York Islanders, Brock Nelson, 6-15 mark. Every time I'm watching the Islanders play, he always seems to score in the puck. Assisted by Oliver Wahlstrom and Nick Leddy. New York Islanders, 16-56 mark. Casey Cizikas on that fourth line, assisted by J.G. Pageau and Adam Pelech. I need a... you know the old thing? J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now? That's what J.G. Wentworth is. I need a structured settlement I need cash now called J.G. Wentworth, 877 cash now. But you can also call J.G. Pageau, 877 cash now. So, that's a good one. Third period goes Buffalo Sabres, Jeff Skinner, 541 mark. Assisted by Curtis Lazar and Casey Middlestat. Buffalo Sabres, Colin Miller, 935 mark. Assisted by Jack Eichel and Taylor Hall. New York Islanders backhanded goal, Kyle Clutterbuck, 1257 mark. Assisted by Matt Martin. New York Islanders, Brock Nelson for the second time in the game at the 1748 mark and an empty net goal. Assisted by Ryan Pulak. Jonas Johansson finished the game with 25 saves for the Buffalo Sabres. And Ilya Sorokin finished the game with 24 saves for the New York Islanders. Alright, what's next on my Hockey Day in America list? Let's get to the New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, I said this on my Twitter, my Facebook after the Pittsburgh Penguins blew a 3-0 lead on Thursday to the Philadelphia Flyers, lost that game 4-3. And I was just utterly and uberly disgusted about it. And my brother Jacob, he just couldn't stop, annoying me about it to the whole end. But I'm just going to say something about this. The Pittsburgh Penguins, I really thought they were messing with fire and danger after Thursday's loss. I said, this is going to be the downward spiral. You're not going to recover from this. What have they done the last 2 nights? Actually, A, they got defenseman Brian Dumoulin back, and B, they won their last 2 games. They won 4-3 against Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday afternoon, and B, they easily beat the New York Rangers 5-1 on Sunday night. Despite the slow start, I thought they forgot they had a game to play last night, and I thought they were going to pull another New York Islanders thing, like last week in that 2-0 loss. But I guess they have learned, and Mike Sullivan's like, wake up, your beauty nap is over, time to play hockey. So the Pittsburgh Penguins, as we speak this morning, are 2 points ahead of the Philadelphia Flyers for that final playoff spot in the East Division. They should be up 4 on them, and the Flyers should be buried right now. But that game might come back and haunt them later in the season. But here's the good news if you are the Pittsburgh Penguins and its fan base. You have yet to play the New Jersey Devils or the Buffalo Sabres. That might be a lot of easy points right there for them. But we know in Pittsburgh against non-caliber playoff teams, we always make it harder than it actually seems, right? So they better if they don't go 8-0 against Buffalo, it's a sin. And if they don't go at least 6-2 or better against New Jersey Devils, that's also a sin. You need these points. And especially that the Penguins have already played Washington Capitals 6 times. And you played the New York Islanders 5 times. You have 4 more against the Boston Bruins. 6 more against Boston Bruins, but 4 of them are home. You already played the Philadelphia Flyers 5 times. Actually, I think it's 4 against New York Islanders. But on that note, 4 or 6. I don't remember on the schedule to be exact. But on that note, there are 32 games remaining for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And they have to take care of the games they're supposed to win. And as long as they do like they did last night, they'll be fine. I guess I get too emotional for them for my liking sometimes, which I know is probably not good for my health either. Or maybe it's good to get more ratings on this show. Hopefully it's driving up today. I've been hitting a complete wall. I've been a complete dumpster fire with my show ratings over the last month. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys about it. I'm just hoping that Thursday's thing, when I move to the new laptop, it's just, with the show, and you can see my face finally, that it's hopefully going to boost right away because everyone else on the network does. But now let me get back to this. The Pittsburgh Penguins are in 4th. Boston Bruins in 3rd. Washington Capitals in 2nd. New York Islanders in 1st. And everything should be A-okay from here on out. So in that 5-1 win for the Pittsburgh Penguins over the New York Rangers. First period goals. New York Rangers, 18:42 remaining in first period. Mika Zibanejad assisted by Pavel Buchnevich. Jakub Trouba, it's only his 3rd goal of the year. And I know Zibanejad, and I know they lost the Rangers. Maybe you could finally get going and get hot. Maybe after when they play the Pittsburgh Penguins, they could get rolling a little bit. Pittsburgh Penguins, then they scored 3 straight in the first. John Moreno, 16-13 mark, assisted by Kasperi Kapanen. And Aaron Rodriguez and Kapanen's been playing very well for the Pittsburgh Penguins lately. Kasperi Kapanen, 16-52 mark, assisted by Jared McCann and Evgeny Malkin. And let me tell you something, Malkin's been playing a lot better. I call a lot of Pittsburgh Penguins on stuff all the time. I was telling JB Beck I wanted to call KDKA Radio the other night, but it left me this automated voice message after my displeasure with that 4-3 loss to Philadelphia Flyers. Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby on a fluttering puck, 17-14 mark, assisted by Brian Dumoulin and Chris Letang. No goals in the second period. Third period goals. Kenny Malkin, 13-57 mark, assisted by Kasperi Kapanen and Marcus Pettersson. Pittsburgh Penguins, Zach Aston Reese, 16-37 mark, assisted by Teddy Bluger, Brandon Tanev. Alexander Georgiev, 3 saves for the New York Rangers. He got pulled in the first period. And they didn't have Igor Shesterkin because he's out due to a lower body injury. He hurt himself the other night on Thursday against the New Jersey Devils. They don't know how long he'll be out for. And then Keith Kincaid made 16 saves for the New York Rangers. The Pittsburgh Penguins couldn't solve him for a while, but then they did. And then Casey DeSmith with a solid performance. It didn't play too bad defensively with 23 saves for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And when Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin play together, what I meant by that is when they have at least 1 goal in each game, in the same game, they're basically impossible to lose. Now let me get into my next segment. The Washington Capitals and the Philadelphia Flyers. So, Washington did help out its little arch nemesis, Pittsburgh Penguins, a little bit with their 3-1 win over the Philadelphia Flyers on Sunday night. As for the Washington Capitals, they're one of the favorites probably to maybe win the whole thing. They got 4 legitimate lines top to bottom. You have Vitek Vanacek in net, but he didn't play last night. It was Ilya Samsonov who actually played very well. And I'll get to him in just a minute or so. And lastly, their defense led by John Carlson is one of the best blue line units in the NHL. And Peter Laviolette, this is a better system for them than what Todd Ritter had implemented the last 2 years after he placed Barry Trotz after winning the Stanley Cup in 2018 against the Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games. Let me just say that. This Washington Capitals team is very, very tough. And they're a very tough hockey team. And they're going to be super tough to beat in the playoffs. And once again, they're proving that they're a skilled team and they don't need the dirtiness. And I'll get to Tom Wilson's suspension right after this segment. But let me just actually get in the game recap here. So in a 3-1 win, Philadelphia Flyers lone goal in the game. Joe Farabee, 11:04 mark, assisted by Jean Couturier. That line's been tremendous. Second period goals. Alex Ovechkin, 8th of the season, 714th career goal for the Washington Capitals. The heart and soul of the Washington Capitals, and then his goal was assisted by TJ Oshie and Zdeno Chara. And now Ovechkin is only 3 behind for the next closest with 717 goals. And then after that, it reaches around the 731 mark. I don't know if he'll get to 731 this year. He may, maybe not. But he should get to the 717 mark around and then surpass it with 718, 719, 720, and so forth. And Dmitry Orlov also scored for the Washington Capitals in the second period at the 1944 mark. 16 seconds remaining in the second period, assisted by John Carlson and Jakub Vrana. And Vrana has played very well for them this season. And he's going to have to step up a lot without Tom Wilson. And in the third period, Nick Jensen at the 4:15 mark, assisted by Nicholas Backstrom and TJ Oshie. Ilya Samsonov, 36 saves for the Washington Capitals. Vitek Vanacek was the backup for this game. Carter Hart, 24 saves for the Philadelphia Flyers. And Brian Elliott was the backup in this game for the Philadelphia Flyers. So now let me get into Tom Wilson's suspension here for the Washington Capitals. A 7-game suspension. Washington Capitals forward Tom Wilson has been suspended 7 games for hitting Brandon Carlo headfirst into the boards, and he seriously injured him. Wilson decided not to appeal the suspension. Good on his part, because he knew he messed up. Some people felt like it should have been more. Some people felt like it should have been less. And my opinion is, I feel like it was the right amount of games. In a 56-game season, and someone said this correctly, for a 56-game season, it is a large amount of context. But if it was an 82-game regular season, for sure it would have been more than 7 games. It probably would have been a minimum of 10. Maybe it would have gotten 15. If it was a 82-game season instead of a 56-game season, you better believe it would have been a longer suspension for Tom Wilson than he actually got. That is a fact. And you all know I'm right on that. I don't want to be hostile or be a show-off about it, but I'm just saying that Tom Wilson deserved this suspension. And then, want to know the irony about all this whole suspension? I saw the interview by Brad Marchand on Friday night. And he called Tom Wilson, it was a dirty hit or whatever else he said. But the irony of it all is that Brad Marchand is a dirty player himself. Not as bad as Tom Wilson. But he also has a reputation of doing things. And I think Marchand needed to keep his mouth shut and should have let the captain, Patrice Bergeron, handle that one. Because Bergeron handles things more with grace and class rather than Brad Marchand does himself. That's just my opinion on the whole matter. And I understand he wants to stick up for his team, and I'm cool with that. That's not my problem. But when you do things that he has done in the past, like Brad Marchand and Tom Wilson have done dirty things in the past, which is why Marchand needed to keep his mouth shut in that scenario. But if it was Patrice Bergeron or David Pastrnak for that matter that said something, I'd be like, cool, okay. Zdeno Chara, but Zdeno Chara is now a member of the Washington Capitals. So I guess he really can't say anything on the matter anymore. Well, I guess Zdeno Chara leaves one dirty player, Brad Marchand, to another dirty player in Tom Wilson. I guess that's how it goes, the circle of life, right? One thing goes around, what goes around comes around by Justin Timberlake. Moving on from the Washington Capitals Tom Wilson suspension segment. But actually, before I get into my next NHL game segment here, use promo code 12OunceSports, all caps for deposit bonus up to $1,000 for MyBookie. Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner Live, MyBookie.ag, 12-Ounce Sports, quench your thirst, 12OunceSportsRadio.com/Amazon, promo 12-Ounce Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to say this, But in about 15 minutes from now, 12 Out Sports own Tyler Valdez will be calling live onto the show to discuss what happened in the NBA All-Star Game and to preview the second half of the NBA season. You do not want to go anywhere, and you simply do not want to miss it. In about 15 minutes from now, special guest Tyler Valdez will be joining me live on the show. And I would also like to thank JB Beck, Cody Jensen, Tyler Valdez, Michael Corvallis, Lou Gamelin, and everybody else who puts in all the hard time and work and effort to make our shows professional, or try to the best of our ability as we can, and all the hard work they do. And ladies and gentlemen, I always call on JB Beck's show on every Friday, the work week with the janitor, and I'm just going to say this. I always love calling the show. Maybe you guys should try and call into the show one time. Don't worry, I gave them all heck on Friday. Maybe I'll have a call-in segments one of these days. I'll figure it out, and we'll see what happens. So now let me get into my next segment. The Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Chicago Blackhawks. So as we all say in hockey, the 3-0 lead is always very dangerous, right? We could all admit that a 3-0 lead in hockey is dangerous. You know, in basketball, a 3-1 series lead's dangerous. So instead of that 3-1 lead being dangerous, we consider the 3-0 lead to be dangerous. So the Tampa Bay Lightning looks like they're going to get blown out. The Chicago Blackhawks, they were down 3-0. In the second period, then they scored 6 straight goals to win 6-3. And Tampa Bay Chicago split the first 2 games of the series. And as we say in baseball, Tampa Bay takes the rubber game of the series. I actually happen to like these baseball terms more and more often in hockey. I think we should keep them. But the truth be told, it's probably not going to happen next year. Because it's probably going to go back to normal. So, with this 6-3 win for Tampa Bay Lightning, and in this morning, they are only now 2 points behind the Toronto Maple Leafs for the best record, points-wise, in the entire National Hockey League for the President's Trophy. And I've been a little bit skeptical of the Toronto Maple Leafs because of the division they play. And if they played with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins, and the Florida Panthers this year, they probably wouldn't be as good as 38 points. But because the Canadian division is such a weak division defensively, no wonder why they do this. And then they beat the Edmonton Oilers 3 straight, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl and company, but then they lose to the Vancouver Canucks 2 games in a row. Leave it to that, right? I mean, come on now. So with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Chicago Blackhawks game recap. So, in the first period goals, the Chicago Blackhawks, Philip Kurashev, 10:51 mark, assisted by Carl Soderberg. Chicago Blackhawks, Matthias Janmark on the power play. At the 15:34 mark, assisted by Dominic Kubulak and Patrick Kane. Second period goal, Pius Suter could potentially be a Rookie of the Year candidate, Calder Trophy winner. 3:11 mark, or a finalist, assisted by Matthias Janmark. Tampa Bay Lightning, Andre Palat, power play goal, 3:51 mark, assisted by Victor Hedman and Steven Stamkos. Tampa Bay Lightning, Yanni Gourde, 4:14 mark, assisted by Austin Cernak. Tampa Bay Lightning, Victor Hedman once again, power play goal, 7:51 mark, assisted by Braden Point and Andre Palat. And then Tampa Bay Lightning, Yanni Gourde, 16:55 mark, power play goal, assisted by Mikhail Sergachev. Now let's get to the third period goals here. Tampa Bay Lightning, Alex Killorn once again, 14:25 mark, assisted by Yanni Gourde and Ryan McDonough. Gourde had a heck of a game. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning, Pat Maroon, 17:25 mark, power play goal, assisted by Yanni Gourde and Matthew Joseph. Andrei Vasilevsky finished the game with 22 saves for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Kevin Lankinen finished the game with 33 saves for the Chicago Blackhawks. Now let me get into my last NHL game segment for today, and then I'll get into more of some NBA stuff after this. So the New Jersey Devils and the Boston Bruins, out of all the games that I watched yesterday, was probably the least entertaining of them all. And for some reason, the Boston Bruins have been struggling this season with the New Jersey Devils. They'll probably figure them out one way or another. So there were no goals scored in the first period or the second period in this NHL and hockey game. But there was only one goal scored, and that was the only goal that mattered. For the New Jersey Devils by Kyle Palmieri at the 15:23 mark, assisted by Pavel Zacha and PK Subban. And Kyle Palmieri and PK Subban will most likely potentially be traded at the trade deadline for potentially more prospects and picks, because the New Jersey Devils aren't going to make the playoffs. But Lindy Ruff is trying to establish an identity and a culture there. Yeah, I know. You know what they say, winning is the best culture. I understand that. But you got some very young players like Pavel Zacha, and you got Miles Wood and Jack Hughes. You got all those guys. So they'll be okay. And Nico Hischier being hurt a lot, I don't think helps them, and he's the new captain. And they might also trade potentially a Sammy Vatanen moving forward. And I'm curious to see. They play hard. They're not going to roll over and give up like the Buffalo Sabres. At least the New Jersey Devils try. They don't win a lot of games. At least they try to win hockey games. And Scott Wedgwood, a surprise, who started in place of Mackenzie Blackwood, had a 40-save shutout for the New Jersey Devils. And Tuukka Rask finished the game with 24 saves for the Boston Bruins, and he's starting in place of Yaroslav Halak on Sunday afternoon evening for the Boston Bruins. Moving up for the New Jersey Devils, 1-0 win over the Boston Bruins. Game recap on Sunday afternoon. Now I get to go back to the NBA. Now let me take a look. Here's the second half preview for the NBA season. My 4 questions are, number 1, how will Anthony Davis' health impact the Los Angeles Lakers of LeBron James in the Western Conference? Anthony Davis has done a lot of things for Grayson Glasnover in his NBA career, and he's waiting to see when he can come back from his injury. Number 2, can the Phoenix Suns overtake the Utah Jazz as the number 1 seed in the Western Conference moving forward? Number 3, will Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and the Philadelphia 76ers be able to beat Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and the Brooklyn Nets potentially in the Eastern Conference Finals? And I know the Brooklyn Nets just added Blake Griffin yesterday. He was bought out by the Detroit Pistons. And then maybe you'll have the Philadelphia 76ers maybe acquiring PJ Tucker from the Houston Rockets sooner rather than later. Because Tucker knows Daryl Morey when he was the president of basketball operations with the Houston Rockets. And I guess some people were happy in Philadelphia that he didn't go for James Harden. And then the last question, will the Miami Heat stun people in the second half of the season, or will it potentially be the Toronto Raptors in the Eastern Conference? So those are 4 of my questions for the fans that I'm going to leave, honestly, for you guys left answered for the second half of the NBA season. And then, here are the current standings in the NBA as we speak at the moment for heading into the second half of the regular season. Let's first start off with the Eastern Conference over here. The number 1 seed in the East as we speak is the Philadelphia 76ers at 24-12. Number 2, the Brooklyn Nets at 24-13. Number 3, the Milwaukee Bucks at 22-14. Number 4, the Boston Celtics at 19-17. Number 5, the New York Knicks at 19-18. Number 6, the Miami Heat at 18-18. Number 7, the Charlotte Hornets at 17-18. Number 8, the Toronto Raptors at 17-19. Number 9, the Chicago Bulls at 16-18. Number 10, the Indiana Pacers at 16-19. Number 11, the Atlanta Hawks at 16-20. Number 12, the Washington Wizards at 14-20. Number 13, the Cleveland Cavaliers at 14-22. Number 14, the Orlando Magic at 13-23. And number 15, the Detroit Pistons at 10-26. Now the Western Conference standings. Number 1, the Utah Jazz at 27-9. Number 2, the Phoenix Suns at 24-11. Number 3, the Los Angeles Lakers at 24-13. Number 4, the Los Angeles Clippers at 24-14. Number 5, the Portland Trail Blazers at 21-14. Number 6, the Denver Nuggets at 21-15. Number 7, the San Antonio Spurs at 18-14. Number 8, the Dallas Mavericks at 18-16. Number 9, the Golden State Warriors at 19-18. Number 10, the Memphis Grizzlies at 16-16. Number 11, the New Orleans Pelicans, 15-21. Number 12, the Oklahoma City Thunder at 15-21. Number 13, the Sacramento Kings at 14-22. Number 14, the Houston Rockets at 11-23. And lastly, number 15, the Minnesota Timberwolves at 7-29. And I know that the NBA has its 10-team playoff this year to play in, but I'm just going to tell you who's going to fall in the top 8. I could see the Indiana Pacers replacing the New York Knicks, and I could see in the West the Golden State Warriors replacing the San Antonio Spurs. That's what I see. So what could I see here? Charlotte would beat Indiana. Toronto would beat Chicago. Philly over Toronto. Brooklyn over Charlotte. Miami over Milwaukee. Boston over New York. I would take Philly over Boston. Brooklyn over Miami. Brooklyn over Philly. I'll take Brooklyn to be in the finals. And then in the West, I'll take San Antonio over Memphis. Dallas over Golden State. Utah over Dallas. Phoenix over San Antonio. Lakers over Denver. Los Angeles. And then I would take Portland over the Los Angeles Clippers. And then Utah over Portland. Phoenix over the Los Angeles Lakers. Utah over Phoenix. And I'll take the Brooklyn Nets over the Utah Jazz right now. Potentially to win the NBA Finals if the season ended today. And I just recently, said it on last Monday's show here. So now let me get in. Lastly, let me introduce my guest here before he calls me in just about 2 minutes at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. So, special guest for today is Tyler Valdez. 12-ounce Sports, Radio.com blog writer. And he loves writing about the NBA. And he'll be joining me in about 2 minutes at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. And he's going to be talking to me about the NBA All-Star Weekend and what to expect in the second half of the NBA regular season. So this will be the 12th guest that I have onto my show. This is the 5th guest from the 12-ounce Sports Radio.com network. And I've also had, so this is the 5th one from this network. And I've also had 7 guests outside of the 12-ounce Sports Radio.com network as well here. And as I always say before every guest calls me, I always enjoy hearing other people's opinions. As I've learned about in my one class that I had, my ethics class that I had in my senior year of college at Towson University. You're not going to learn a lot of things if you don't hear other opinions from different people. It's better to hear more things than just one and have your own tunnel vision about a lot of things. And that's why I like bringing on different various guests onto my show. That's how I view guests every single time they come on my show. There's no questions asked. And here he is right now. It's Tyler Valdez. Good morning, Tyler. How you doing today? Thank you for coming on.
Pretty good, Glenn. How you doing?
I'm pretty good myself. So, what did you think of the NBA All-Star Weekend in general? And especially about the game? I thought it was like non-competitive from the start. I thought last year was more competitive.
Yeah, I was kind of in and out. I watched a bit, and I kind of do something around the house. It's kind of the kind of thing where it's not super entertaining. It's kind of just crazy scoring. It was some of the crazy shots going on were pretty cool. Steph and Dame going back and forth. That was great to watch. And then the 3-point contest, Steph, Dan came down and just won in the last shot. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and I thought Giannis Antetokounmpo deserved the Kobe Bryant MVP award. I mean, did you
Yeah, I
really
think
think
so.
it was going to go to anyone else?
I mean, I was rooting for Steph, and he started out hot. But then Giannis, I mean, you look at the numbers, and it's obvious Giannis was the MVP.
Oh, that absolutely goes without saying. But now let me get into more like. But before I could get into the content itself, Kevin Durant didn't play with. Obviously, he has the Achilles ankle injury, and then
Right.
hamstring injury. And LeBron only played 12 minutes. He kind of didn't want to be there. Do you think maybe LeBron should have entirely set out the whole thing if he only played for 12 minutes and gave someone else a spot?
I mean, you can think about it. I mean, last minute, Booker basically gave Conley his spot. It happened. So you could have saw maybe just coach a little more. That would have been kind of entertaining, right? If LeBron was just out there coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely tend to agree with that for sure. And now, did you think with the dunk contest, did you think Anthony Simmons deserved to win it, or you think Obi Toppin or Cassius Stanley got robbed?
I think Cassius Stanley definitely put up a winning possible score. You know, it's left to opinion, and then these guys they have an opinion of these players already as far as they're playing the NBA. It's maybe driving these scores, but I mean, I thought it was somewhat entertaining. Definitely think that anybody could have won it.
I mean, I personally believe that too, but it's just like it was very short, and I didn't realize I liked how they did the first round. But then the second round, one dunk. I guess it was halftime. I guess they had to put in something over nothing. But I mean, you think they could have done a better job, right?
Oh, definitely. But I think the goal here was just to get it over with, just to get it done for the NBA. They were happy with just getting it done. No one getting COVID from doing dunks. Everyone's happy. No one gets hurt. You know, that's all they cared about. So I say for the NBA it was a success.
Yeah, and I mean, were you also surprised that Steph Curry won the 3-point contest?
No, I had him going in. I was as soon as it came on, I was tuned in, and it was beautiful to watch those threes at the end. The way he had at the end of the last two shots he had to hit, and then boom, hit them. But you know, watching that, you knew they were going in too, it being Steph Curry.
Yeah, and then you had the skills competition. I mean, what does it say about like?
That was a little lackluster.
What was
The
lackluster?
competition was a little the skills competition. They ended up coming down to Vujacic and Sabonis, and in the final, you can kind of see like they were kind of jogging it, and it wasn't they weren't super into it. It didn't seem like.
Yeah, I know. It was like I wonder, and I know Jalen Brunson joked with Luka Doncic about the whole. It got to me a little bit, and I mean, why did Doncic and like CP3? I know CP3 took it seriously. But it looked like Doncic didn't even take off his sweater. I mean, did he try there? I mean, what's that all about?
Yeah, I noticed that. And then, I mean, you can tell some of these guys didn't really care as much. I think with Kenny Smith, while they were doing it, was even saying, like, what are they even doing here? That they're just making a layup? Like, anybody can make a layup.
Well, I think it's more than that. I think it's just like, I mean, it's kind of tough to.
That's part of it. You come down, you make a pass, do a couple moves, make a layup, and then make a three. It's kind of. Not really that entertaining to watch.
So my next question is, I looked at the NBA standings, and I know they're doing the 10 team playoffs this year because they want to do the 10 versus 7, 9 versus 8 playoff round due to the coronavirus year. And if it was a normal regular 8 team playoff this year, I said to myself, there are always teams that fall off in the second half, and I personally think in the East, if for a top 8, I think the New York Knicks are going to fall out of the top 8 for the Indiana Pacers. And I think in a Western Conference, the San Antonio Spurs are going to fall off for the Golden State Warriors. Do you agree with that or do you disagree?
Well, I'm a Warrior fan, so I'm hoping we get at least up to there. I think this playing game, it could be pretty entertaining. You see, like you were saying, some teams get hot towards the end. You can see like a 10 or a 9 seed who gets hot. Maybe they win the 2 games they need to win to get through. The playing game back into the playoffs, but I see Indiana definitely moving up. Indiana's got Sabonis and Brogdon. They have a good team, Miles Turner too. So I see the Pacers definitely moving up and possibly winning a first round matchup. In the West, I'm hoping the Warriors can move up to at least that because we've been kind of inconsistent as far as win a game and lose a couple games you should have won. I don't know. You definitely need to like make a move, possibly out of like a either calling up Jeremy Lin or adding a buyout candidate.
And like speaking of, I blanked out. Speaking of the Indiana Pacers, is Karis LeVert going to play for them at all, or is that going to be towards next year?
I mean, he had something on his kidney, I don't know if it was a tumor or something, but he had to have like surgery. So I wouldn't expect him to be playing this year. I would definitely be. You never know. It could. Maybe he comes back for playoffs. It could happen, but with the major surgery, major kind of condition he had, that basically got lucky as he got traded. The trade ended up kind of saving his life, they said. So just for him to be all good this year, be able to play next year, I think that's a win.
And then I've heard Kevin Love's name, potentially maybe the Dallas Mavericks or the Sacramento Kings. But are there other hot names like a PJ Tucker, the Houston Rockets that might be traded to Philadelphia 76ers, or an Andre Drummond, Cleveland Cavaliers that might get traded like a Boston Celtics? He's not going to go to Brooklyn Nets now, but maybe like a Miami Heat or something. Are there any other big names that you're hearing that might get dealt other than the three I just mentioned?
Other than three off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Harrison Barnes from the Kings. I know his name has been talked about a lot. Harrison Barnes. The Kings has been pretty disappointing the last 10 games, and they have kind of the same thing going on, the same roster. So I've heard of Harrison Barnes being talked about as possibly Boston. That would be pretty interesting.
And a name that just actually popped up in my mind, I have no idea how it just popped up. Kyle Lowry, Toronto Raptors. He has 1 year remaining. This final year of his contract, he has $30 million. They're probably, and what this signals that they want to move on from Kyle Lowry is that A, they like Fred VanVleet, B, they like Norman Powell, C, they actually have high expectations for Malachi Flynn, who's developing in the G League of the Toronto Raptors, and they don't plan to give Kyle Lowry a long-term deal. Where does Kyle Lowry go if he's on the move?
Yeah, Kyle Lowry's getting up there in age. He's had a lot of good years. Starting out his career, he was more of like a role player on the Rockets, to where now he is got that max contract. He's had a great career. But I think you can definitely see it that they paid Fred VanVleet last season. Kyle Lowry's getting old. I could definitely see him being moved. I heard Philadelphia. I think that would be a great move. He has championship experience.
See, I think the team that makes the most sense, honestly, is to reunite him with Serge Ibaka and Kawhi Leonard with the Los Angeles Clippers, because I think of it now, they're saying they don't have a point guard. And the thing is...
Really, yeah. Yeah, the Clippers have really been lacking a point guard to where if they can get him in there, he's a guy to like run the offense, doesn't need to get up as many shots to where he can feed George and Kawhi. It could be a perfect fit.
Yeah, I think that would be honestly a perfect fit, because honestly I think Portland would beat the Clippers in a first round series right now. Because
Portland too being talked about as a team that's been looking like with the Blake Griffin. They were all on trying to get Blake Griffin as well, who went to Brooklyn. But Portland's a team that when they get Nurkic back as well as McCollum down the stretch, they've already been playing well without those two. You had those two great players. They're a team that you have to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree with that anymore. And then, so I will have 1 to 2 final questions for you. So, who do you think is a dark horse team in the NBA?
I mentioned Portland. I would like to say the Warriors, but I just don't see it this year. As far as a dark horse, I don't know. I mean, I like the Sixers as far as to win the title. People aren't really talking about the Sixers that much. I mean, I see them right now as a favorite of the East still. The Nets have been improving a lot with Harden, but especially if they could add a Kyle Lowry or another big piece, I can see the Sixers coming out of the East.
So last question is, I have the Utah Jazz versus Brooklyn Nets right now in the NBA Finals. Do you agree, or do you think it's me something else?
I hate to say it. Lakers, I think looking at the West once Davis comes back. And out of the East, I see Philadelphia, so the Lakers, Sixers.
All right, thank you for coming on today's show, Tyler.
Appreciate it, Glenn.
Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Later.
All right, so that was another interview with Tyler Valdez. Thank you for coming on. So I have just around a couple of minutes left on the show. I didn't think I would be left a little bit this time here. So what's going to potentially be on tap for Thursday? So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start getting more into the March Madness side of things. What I mean by that is that be ready, because I'm going to dedicate that show mostly to NBA teams if they were back in college. For example, like Kentucky, a Texas, a North Carolina, Duke, and so on. So please be prepared in like Florida, Oklahoma, Virginia, Villanova, Michigan, Michigan State, and so on. It's going to be fun. You're not going to want to miss it, and you're also not going to want to miss seeing me on camera for the first time. And it's also potentially going to be outside. I might potentially have my show outside on Thursday because it's going to be very nice outside. And maybe I'll just go over a little bit of the NHL game recaps, have some other things on store. Because I'm telling you, next Monday, when the brackets are released, it's going to be a big whole dedicated show to that March Madness for the hour, filling out my bracket live on the show. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you're probably not going to want to miss that special either next Monday. But I'm not trying to get so far ahead of myself at this time either. But in some bright days ahead, potentially for not only my show, but for also the network as well. Maybe I got to tweak up another thing or two today. But most likely I'm ready to set and roll here in the upcoming days. So I'm very, very excited to see what is going to happen moving forward. And I'm just kind of out of words for myself today. You know what? We're out of time here, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to Glenn's Dynamic Sports. Going to help you all enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope you all enjoy this beautiful warm-up week as well. I will be back on the air on the same time on Thursday. So for the first time ever, you'll be able to see my face on the show, and the show might actually be live outside. And also, we're going over NBA teams, college teams like I was just mentioning, NHL game recaps, amongst other things. We're going to try to get ourselves March Madness. No, maybe if there's a little bit of NFL updates or MLB updates, I'll share those with you as well. And use promo code 12OunceSports, all catch prizes bonus up to $1,000 for my booking. I'll use it one more time right now. Use promo code 12OunceSports, all caps, for deposit bonus up to $1,000 from my bookie. Have a wonderful day.